Yo, what up, sluggers? Welcome to the No Hitter Podcast, part of the Fan Addict Sports Network. I'm your man, the Stat Guy. I got Kev in the studio with me. What's going on tonight, Kev?
What's going on? What's going on, man? Happy to be here. Happy to get this show started. Let's do it.
And we got playoff baseball. You know, who would have thought that after a 162 game grind, we finally back to the pinnacle. Everybody loves the playoffs. Playoffs starting this Friday with the wild card round. Man, what are your thoughts on this expansion of the playoffs? You like it? You don't like it? What's your thoughts?
Man, I like it. We play 162 games, and we would cut it down to just a few number of teams. So adding in more games, man, getting more excitement in. Man, more teams means more baseball, which means just more excitement. I'm happy to see it. I'm happy for it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, honestly, man, I didn't like it when it first happened. I thought it was going to take some of the meaning out of September. But I mean, look what we had this year. You know, Braves, Mets came down to the final two series. The Phillies were able to run down the Brewers and backdoor their way into a playoff. I mean, we still had some exciting baseball coming down these last couple of weeks. But man, let's jump in.
Sure. I was just gonna say, man, I always kind of had an issue when we would play 162 games, man, and it'd come down for two teams, it'd come down to one night, and you got to make it work.
The wild card is just going to be a best of three. All three games are going to be at the team with the best records home stadium. So that's kind of an advantage to finish higher in the wild card standings or to win your division if you're the third best team. That way you're locked in, you're good to go. You're able to knock out and get a little home game. Obviously, money helps for these franchises that like to spend money on players. But, man, hopping into these games, first game up, we have the Rays at the Guardians. The Rays ended up finishing sixth in the AL, and then you have the Guardians, obviously the winner of the AL Central. What are some of your thoughts on the Rays at the Guardians series?
Man, historically, Cleveland's obviously a tough place to play in the playoffs. So far this year, they've only played 6 games. Cleveland was 4-2 against the Rays, 2-1 at home, which I think that's definitely going to reveal itself to be a key statistic is how these teams played against each other in the head-to-head, but also how, since they're all 3 games or potentially all 3 games are going to be played in one spot, how that series went at that location. I definitely think that's going to be key. Like I said, Cleveland definitely a tough place to play in the playoffs. They did just play over a week ago, which I think is also something that's really important. We're not looking at, historically how this 3-game series worked out back in May. We're looking at these two teams they just played a week ago. So I definitely think that's going to be key. But the Guardians are coming in. They're kind of hot. They're 8th in batting and team batting average in the MLB, which I think is when we go into these playoff games, man. Obviously who's hot, who's coming in playing well, who's hitting the ball well is going to be important. But overall, 1 through 9, how do these teams shake out? I think the batting average for the team-wise is definitely going to be a key stat.
Yeah, no, and definitely Cleveland, you hit the nail on the head. Cleveland's definitely the hotter team between the two. Another big thing is, and this is very rare for playoff teams, Tampa Bay is playing losing baseball on the road. Losing issue on the road. Obviously, they have 3 games all at Cleveland. That could show its head. But, yeah, definitely Cleveland being the hotter team, taking 2 of 3. From the Rays just over a week ago. I think we're going to see that. What about just like kind of head-to-head? What do you think is kind of how the pitching and the hitting stack up head-to-head? Who do you like?
Well, look, Cleveland's better, obviously the offensive team. Most of the production, I think experience also is going to be a huge thing. The Rays aren't a vastly experienced team in the playoffs. Corey Kluber is their one vet. Obviously, he's a pitcher. He's somebody that's going to be around. He will have a start more than likely. But most of their production is coming from the kids, man. It's coming from the 26 to 29-year-olds, guys that don't have a ton of playoff experience. Like you said, the Rays aren't playing well on the road. They have a losing record on the road. Now you got these young kids who already don't have a ton of playoff experience. They're going to have to go on the road now. They're going to have to make it work. Jose Ramirez, man, he's kind of the X factor. He's the guy that makes that engine go in Cleveland offensively. So we'll definitely have to see. He's got great stats, man. Look, 275 batting average, 29 home runs, 124 RBI, which is third best in the entire MLB this year. Man, he's definitely the X factor. If he stays warm, he stays hot, man, I think Cleveland's definitely got the advantage offensively, for sure.
No, and I know they have a ton of playoff experience. They are young, but they were there last year. They made a run last year. They've been there prior, and I know some of those pieces changed, but they're definitely a team that knows how to win in October. But I really don't think this team has some of the talent that we've seen from the other teams that have gone on those runs. For me, the big X factor in this series is going to be the bullpen. If Cleveland gets the lead late, they have arguably who I think is the best closer in baseball, and he's going to shut it down 1, 2, 3, and they're going to say thank you, take 2 games, and get on out of town. But who you got winning the series, Kev? Who you like? Who you picking?
Man, I think it's going to be Cleveland, and I think it's going to be a quick one. I think it's going to be a 2-0 sweep.
Wow, 2-0 sweep for Cleveland. Yeah, I'm definitely taking Cleveland, but I think this is going to be exciting. So I got Cleveland, but I got Cleveland winning in 3 games. I think Tampa will take one, either that first one or maybe that middle one. But I definitely think in the long haul, Cleveland is the better hitting team. They're better at home. I think they're going to pull it out. But should be an exciting weekend out there in Ohio. Who knows? We'll see what they know about some baseball. It's been a while for Cleveland since they played some meaningful baseball in October.
It has been a while, man, but they get hype up there, so I know they're looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. So next up, we have the Seattle Mariners going to Toronto to face the Blue Jays. The Mariners in the playoffs for the first time since 2001. Man, some of the kids we're seeing perform now weren't even born yet, or were just babies now when they last made the playoffs. So what do you like about this series, Seattle at Toronto?
Man, and as a lot of people know, man, we're on the East Coast over here, so we don't get to see a ton of Seattle baseball, a ton of West Coast baseball unless you're staying up late. So I'll be honest, I haven't seen a ton of Seattle this year. They've got a good record, man. And like I said, and I'm gonna keep hitting on this in every single series that comes up. I think team batting average is one of the most important statistics when it comes to September and October baseball. You've got to be playing well because you never know who's going to need to pick up the slack. If some guy gets cold and goes 0 for 4, 0 for 5, you got guys going 0 for in those 3, 4, 5 spots. Can the 6, 7, 8, 9 guys, can they pick up the slack, get on base, knock guys in, and score some runs late in the game, especially, and get back? And with that being said, the Blue Jays in team batting average this year are first in the MLB. Seattle is a whopping 28th. Man, that's not looking good. All right. Again, they played 7 times this year. Seattle's won the last 5. However, they played 3 times again in early May, and they were 1-2 on the road. So we haven't seen these 2 teams play a whole lot. But Seattle is they're, I'm happy for them, but I'm not sure the series is going to go well for them. Toronto's a tough place to play. All right. They haven't been there they haven't been to the playoffs in 21 years, but Toronto is loaded. They got a ton of star power. These are guys, they have a ton of experience in the playoffs and a ton of experience of just big time baseball. They hit the ball well. They can field it well. They throw it, and man, they pitch well. They're just Blue Jays top to bottom. They're a solid team. I look for them to make a deep run, get out of this one quick, and then make a deep run throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, no, the cool thing about this series that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about is this series is star-studded with young talent. You got Vladdy for Toronto. You got the soon-to-be-named AL Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez, in Seattle. And so it's just going to be a battle of these young superstars. But you're right, man. Seattle is not necessarily a contact team, but one thing they do is when they put the bat on the ball, that thing is see you later, out of here. They definitely are a friend of the long ball. The ball gets out of Toronto, even in the dome. Kind of weird, but the homers will carry there if they're getting good contact. And so I would not be surprised to see like a bunch of like 7-9, 8-5 type games. But yeah, just the young stars and what they're going to bring to this series. This is probably going to be the series I'm most looking forward to watch because it's just going to be fun. I think the X factor for me in this series is going to be George Springer. He has a World Series ring with the Astros. He's played for multiple World Series. He's been to the CS a bunch. And so you have him as a catalyst in that lineup with the young talent surrounding him who's already been to the postseason themselves. I think this Toronto team is ready to make a deep run into the playoffs.
See, and I think Toronto as well, again, to hit on that, yeah, George Springer, he's an X factor. He's one of the most talented guys on that roster. He's got a ring. He's got a ton of playoff experience, but he's not the only one, man. Look at guys like Whit Merrifield. All right, he's got a ton of playoff experience. Guys like Jackie Bradley Jr. These are guys that have a ton of playoff experience. They've got rings. They've been there before, been there, done that. All right, they hit the ball well. Like I said, the ball is going to carry. I think they've got plenty of guys 1-5, 1-6, even 1-7 in the lineup that can hit the ball. Not only hit the ball well, but hit the ball hard and hit it out of the park. Does Seattle bring that to the table? Are they that deep? Like you said, they've got the guy who's probably going to be the rookie of the year in the American League. But 1-5, 1-6, if he gets cold, can they pick up the slack? That remains to be seen. But I'm with you, man. This is probably the series, other than maybe the Cardinals series. This is probably the series that I'm most excited to watch because it's just going to be fun, man. It's going to be like watching kids be kids and just play the game of baseball and play it in an exciting manner for sure.
You got Toronto in the sweep. You got them going 2-0. You think it goes 3 games?
I think this one's probably going to go 3 games, but I've got Toronto winning it 2-1. I think I'm with you. I think there are going to be a lot of runs scored in this series. I think there may be 1 or 2 blowouts, but I think these are going to be games that are probably going to be closely contested. They may not end up looking closely contested in the box score. They may end up in the 12-7 range where you're like, if you didn't watch the game, you say, "Oh man, that wasn't close." But in reality, I think it's going to be a close series where in the end the winning team's going to pull away. But I think I've got Toronto winning this one 2-1.
And the thing I wonder about, we huge Gamecock fan. I wonder if Jackie Bradley Jr. is reminded George Springer about that trip he made to Columbia in the summer of 2011 when my Gamecocks knocked off his UConn Huskies on their way to back-to-back national championships.
I think they've probably moved past it, but I'll be honest, man. I think we'd all be lying to ourselves if JBJ hadn't at least brought that up once or twice, no doubt.
I'm with you. Toronto's going to take this series, and I actually got them. As much as I'm big on the Mariners and they're a fun team to watch, I think that Toronto is just too much for them. I have Toronto taking it in 2, and again, getting ready for the divisional series and ready to make a run because they are definitely built for it. But next, man, we're going to move on. We have the Philadelphia Phillies traveling to the Devil Magic themselves, the St. Louis Cardinals.
You a hater, man. You a hater. Why you gotta put it on them like that?
Hey, you see the jersey I'm wearing. You already know. But what you think about this series?
Man, again, like I said, other than the Blue Jays and the Mariners, man, this is a series I'm excited to see. How long can these old guys keep it rolling, man? Can they hang in there? Will they break a hip? We don't know. You got names like Adam Wainwright. These are household names. Adam Wainwright, Yadi Molina, Albert Pujols, Paul Goldschmidt. These are some old cats, but they got a ton of experience, man, and they're gonna be savvy. These are savvy vets. They're playing in St. Louis. I think that absolutely gives the Cardinals an advantage. But the Phillies are no slouch either, man. They've got some guys who are experienced. They can hit the ball well. But can the guys like Kyle Schwarber, can they keep it rolling? I don't know. They've got to keep it rolling because I'm telling you right now, guys like Albert Pujols and Yadi Molina, if they have a bad game, it's not going to phase them. They're going to pick right back up and keep it rolling. Man, I'll say that just to cap it off, man. I really hope I want to see Albert Pujols play as many games as he can. I just really I love that guy. He's a talent for sure. You can tell that he's really embracing just playing the game of baseball and enjoying being a mentor and a leader to some of the younger guys. So I'm definitely excited to see. I hope we can see as many games from Albert and Yachty and Adam Wainwright and the crew as possible. I know you hate them. I know you don't want to see them play a whole lot of games, but man, they're definitely something special. We should appreciate it while we can.
Oh, look, this is a big series for me. Being the big Braves fan, the winner of this series is heading to Truist Park to take on my Bravos starting October the 11th. But, man, I'd be lying if I told you the Cardinals don't scare the heck out of you, right?
They should.
You got 12 infield fly. You have them running us down in the regular season and beating us out for the last playoff spot. You have the 10-run first inning against Bolte in a do-or-die game in the playoffs. I mean, the Braves and Cardinals just have history when it comes to this. We drafted Waino out of high school and traded him to St. Louis for J.D. Drew back in the 90s. Who would have guessed this is the career he has, right? And so, but to see these 3 guys play their careers together, Obviously, Pujols went away for a little bit. He's back home now. Huge second half. I mean, he's on fire right now. He's up to 24 home runs. I would be shocked if he doesn't DH for him every game. Right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, absolutely. He has to. He has to because of what he brings to the. He puts fear into whoever's on the mound when he steps in the batter's box. And like you said, with how hot he is right now, yeah, he's got to be your DH for sure.
Right now, the Phillies are the hotter of the two teams. Since June the 1st, the Phillies have the fifth best record in all of baseball. The only problem is Atlanta Braves in their division have the first best, and they were already behind Atlanta when all that got rolling. But, I mean, make no mistake about it. I mean, they're playing amazing baseball. They're playing on like a 107-game win pace or something like that since June the 1st. I mean, the Phillies are firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see what the pitching matchups are going to look like. Wainwright struggled down the stretch, but man, he's just a guy. You have to think when he gets the ball in the postseason, he's probably going to go like 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, right? I mean, that's just what you expect out of him. Flaherty is starting to throw the ball better for him. He's been better in his last couple starts. And then on the other side, you have guys like Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola from Philadelphia. Are we going to see pitchers duels? Or are we going to see a slugfest? I mean, both teams can definitely air out the long ball and create offense for themselves.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Both teams are well rounded. Starting pitching is not been as important in the playoffs as it has been in years past recently, but things are kind of trending back to where they used to be, where you're looking to have a starting pitcher go 5, 6, 7 innings, go deep into the ball game, get you to the bullpen for maybe an inning or two, and then get you to the closers. Like you said, Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler are definitely two guys that are going to need to have big starts. They're going to need to keep the Cardinals under wraps as much as possible. I think pitching matchups are going to be key in this one. I think this one may not be as much of the offensive show as some of the other series are going to be. But it at the same time, at any moment, the game could erupt into an absolute slugfest, and we could see a 12-11 game or a 12-10 game or a 13-10 game. It's possible these games could go both ways. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw the first game be an absolute shootout and the next game goes 2-0 or 2-1 or 2-0, something like that. Man, this one remains to be seen how it's going to go for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the keys, we talk about it being who's the home team and everything. Philadelphia won the season series 4-3, but they went 2-2 at St. Louis. They split that series up.
They split it 500 each. Yep.
Right. So maybe they take some confidence from that. So who you got, Kev? Who you going to take in the series? Who you got winning it?
Man, this one's tough. My head tells me to go with the Phillies because they come in on fire. They're firing on all cylinders. You said it. My heart says go with the Cardinals because they're so experienced. Man, I'm gonna be honest. I think when it comes down to series like this, I think you got to go with the savvy vets, man, because they're unfazed. And I think you're gonna have the Cardinals coming to Atlanta, and they're gonna give your Braves a run, man. We gonna see. This one's gonna go down to the wire. But I'm going with the Cards in 3 games.
Yeah, I definitely went back and forth on this one, right? Like my heart will not let me pick the Cardinals, right, as a Braves fan. So my heart tells me the Phillies. My head tells me that the savvy vets are the savvy vets. And they've been there, they've won World Series, and that could be a difference. I mean, you look at one of the catalysts for the Phillies, Bryce Harper, never won with the Nats. The Nats didn't win until he got shipped off to Philly. So, but I tell you, as a Braves fan, I think most Braves fans want to see the Phillies. But for me, knowing this is the Big Three's final year, bring on the Cardinals. We have some demons that we haven't exercised yet. Last year, but bring on the Cardinals. I want the Braves to be the one to send them packing. So I'm taking the Cardinals in 3 games.
That's a bold move, man. I didn't think you would want that fight at the highest volume, and it sounds like that's what you're saying. You're like, bro, bring them on, man. If I'm a Braves fan, I don't want to stress. I'm not looking forward to the Cardinals coming. I'm stressing if they're coming. I'm looking forward to the Phillies coming because I know we can handle the Phillies. It's a familiar opponent. I'd rather go into that seeing somebody familiar than seeing some three 3-4 faces that historically give me nightmares. That's a bold move there, Jeff. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Man,
I don't think Braves Nation is agreeing with you. If we did a poll, I don't think they're agreeing with you on that one.
Actually, I do. There's a lot of us out there that, man, we got over the hump, right? We got past the Dodgers. We won the World Series. We've gotten past those things. There's one roadblock that we haven't gotten over yet, and it's time to put that bed to rest and get over that final hump. I do not want to see those three guys retiring without giving the Braves the option to put them to rest in the playoffs. So Cardinal fans, bring it on. I hope to see y'all at Truist Park starting October the 11th. So for this series, go Cards.
Man, let me digress for a second. So you're saying that the Braves need to get over the hump by beating the Cardinals in the playoffs, beating that group of guys in the playoffs, and beating them in this series or in that potential series would be the Braves getting over the hump.
Yes.
I disagree, because no matter if the Braves go beat them in one series and go on and make it to the world and they win another World Series after beating the Cardinals in this one series, that still doesn't counteract. How many World Series has that group won? How many championships has that group won together by beating the Braves?
By beating the Braves, they've only won one. But it's just the what we call the devil magic. It's the stuff that's happened in the playoffs, the nightmares. I mean, the infield fly, the 10 runs against Faulty in the first inning in Game 5, the running us down and taking the last wild card spot. It's just been a nightmare situation, man. And, maybe it's not getting over the hump. Maybe that was the wrong word. But I would take quite of enjoyment of seeing the Braves send those guys into retirement, into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I guess what I was getting at was, I'm not sure that by beating them in one series is going to undo all the history that's been done. But I see what your point. I mean, I guess if we're being honest with ourselves, we want to win, but we want to win a certain way. Especially if you, as a Braves fan, you've won a lot, so now you're to the point where you're like, you're past the point of let's just win. I don't care how we win. To I want to win, and I want to win it the right way. So I get your point, man. That's fair. I can appreciate it, but as a Braves fan, if I was a Braves fan, I would still be terrified.
Oh, don't worry. I will be terrified. It's the hell out of me. But to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I don't want nobody to say we cupcaked our way into another World Series when we go back to back. But anyway, let's move on. We're going to move on to the final series. We have the red hot Padres, who have worked their way into the wild card, going up against the team that thought they had the NL East locked up on May 31st, only to find out they didn't, the New York Metropolitans. So, Kev, what
ice cold right now. Ice cold.
Hey, man, I'm a Braves fan, true and true, man. All I do, fire shots. So what you about this series? What you like about it?
Man, another exciting series for sure. I think this one's going to be an offensive showcase. There's going to be some good pitching, but I definitely think guys like Juan Soto, who, by the way, is almost batting .400 since joining the Padres, he's going to be key, man. The starting pitching, the projected starters right now for games 1 and games 2. I mean, Yu Darvish is probably going to go game 1 for the Padres. He's had a good year. What do they have in starting pitching behind Yu Darvish? Not a lot. The Mets, they're second in the league in on base percentage as well as team batting average. This one's definitely going to be a showcase. If you like offensive baseball, like a lot of folks do, tune into this one, my friends, because you're going to see it.
So, the big thing, we just got over sweeping the Mets to steal the NL East and break their hearts. I wonder if that affects them heading into the playoffs. They might have a little hangover from that. But the key to this series is going to be the Mets starting pitching. It just flat out is. What are you going to get out of DeGrom and Scherzer? I mean, Scherzer's getting up there in age. He had arm issues last year where his arm got dead arm in the postseason. DeGrom's currently battling a cut cuticle and a blister on his pitching hand that's bothered him his last 2 starts. And the Mets bullpen, outside of their closer Diaz, is god-awful. And so if they only get 4 or 5 innings from these guys, can the bullpen string it to the 8th or 9th inning to get it to the closer? I think you're right. I think we're going to see a lot of offense. And it's two different styles, with Juan Soto and Manny Machado. They like to crush the ball. The Mets are not a real home run team. They have Pete Alonso. They have Lindor. But if those two guys aren't going, they got a bunch of guys that are just going to single you to death, and they have to hope they can string them together. They're going to mess around and have 9 or 10 hits and nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
What are your keys to this series, you think?
Well, you kind of touched on it there. The Mets are gonna dink and dunk. Really, they're one guy that can really come in and mash the ball and hit the ball out of the ballpark. You obviously look at Pete Alonso. They could get Sterling Marte back by Friday. He could be somebody that they look to get another dink and dunk single. Maybe to get on, steal some bases, stuff like that, kind of manufacture some runs. So he could be important to that. But I think Pete Alonso is kind of the X factor. I think they're going to go. Oh, I got two X factors. One, I think Pete Alonso. I think they're going to kind of go offensively. They're going to go as he goes. If he's hitting the ball well and he's hitting it, getting extra base hits, putting the balls in the gap, which he is a fantastic hitter. He can hit for power and average. I think he's definitely somebody that's going to be important. But for them as well, I think it's Max Scherzer, aka the Warrior God. Can he make a start and go for more than 4 or 5 innings? I think his heart will obviously allow him to, but I'm not sure his arm is going to be healthy enough. Because he's thrown a lot of innings, man. He's thrown a lot. So they'll go as he goes as well. How much can he give you? I'm not sure. With that being said, I think those are the two X factors. I think, unfortunately, it's not going to go well for the Mets. They're going to have a hangover. The momentum is not there, and momentum is key, man. Every year we see it. Teams that come in playing well late in the season, they keep it rolling in the playoffs. I think the Padres are probably going to win this one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sweep, if it's a 2-0 sweep.
Wow, going to Citi Field to pick up the 2-0 sweep.
Yeah,
nice. So just
I figured the Braves fan would like to hear that.
You did touch on Sterling Marte. He tried doing soft toss batting practice today. It did not go well. I would be absolutely shocked if he is on the wild card roster for them. He's still having issues gripping the bat and the ball, coming back from that broken hand. And you hate to see that. The Braves dealt with it last year with injuries. Luckily, our injuries happened before the All-Star break and before the trade deadline, so we could get new guys in. But when you have these injuries late in the season and you limp into the playoffs not at full strength, you really hate to see it. I think this game's going to go 3. This series will go 3 games. One of 2 between DeGrom and Scherzer is going to be DeGrom and Scherzer, and they're just going to throw an absolute dime piece of a gem, like something crazy, maybe like 7 2/3 or 8 1/3 and something with like 4 hits and maybe 1 run. They're just one of them is going to put together the ace start that you expect. I have this series go in 3 games. It's another series I've gone back and forth on. And unfortunately for both of these teams, with how the new playoff format sets up, with if it finishes on Sunday, the next series starts on Tuesday, your pitching's not lined up. You're not going to be able to throw your aces, and you're not going to be able to get the most starts out of your studs going into that divisional series. But all that aside, I think the Padres are going to take it. I'm okay either way. If the Mets want to win, that's fine. I wouldn't mind going and watching them fight on the Dodgers, but I think the Padres are going to take this one. I got it going 3 games. I got them winning the first one and the third one.
Word. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, man. I think it could go either way. I think this one on paper is probably the closest series because you just really don't know. It's a lot of depending upon how guys come out and play, and we're really just not sure. But I think the Padres are going to go into Citi Field. I think they're going to take it. I think this one's going to be quick.
Well, for all you out there in YouTube land, hey, thank you for joining us for our first ever No Hitter podcast. Make sure you click that like button, subscribe to the channel. We got baseball content with the No Hitter podcast. We got football content with the Fan Addict. We got you covered with sports. Hey, we're just a sports channel for sports fans by sports fans. So make sure you tune in, get in the comment section, let you know what we like about these series. Give us your predictions on these series or any of the X factors you think we might have missed. But for Kev, I'm the stat guy. We out of here.
Peace.